Margaret Josephs and Dorinda Medley's epic blowout caught on camera. RHONJ star Margaret Josephs and RHONY alum Dorinda Medley had an epic blowout that was caught on camera. The two got into it while recording an episode of Jeff Lewis Live. From there, they proceeded to cancel the live show that they were doing together. So was this fight the catalyst? Keep reading for more details. Margaret Josephs and Dorinda Medley come to blows. Bravo fans know that Margaret Josephs and Dorinda Medley are very strong personalities. They do not let anyone attack them and will fight for what they believe is right. Dorinda was let go from RHONY after season 12, but has maintained she was put on pause. Even when she was on RHONY Legacy, she talked about being on pause, which made Kristen Tackman laugh. At that point, the show had been completely rebooted, so no one from the OG cast had a job any longer. Still, no one could tell Dorinda any different. Margaret is known for pushing Danielle Staub's now ex-husband, Marty Caffrey, into the pool. She had no remorse and mocked her castmates completely stone-faced. Things get heated when Dorinda and Margaret are around, but they maintain that they have very warm hearts. Fans either love or hate them, but they can make good television. Recently, as many housewives do, they teamed up for a tour, Blonde Ambition. A Real Housewives experience. It was doing very well, according to Monsters and critics, even selling out a show in Pennsylvania. During an appearance on Jeff Lewis Live, Margaret Josephs and Dorinda Medley had an epic blowout during the commercial break. The cameras caught Dorinda disciplining Margaret, and that is where things may have fallen apart between the ladies. Dorinda told Margaret not to speak for her, and as she often does, she went on to repeat it. When they returned from the commercial, Jeff Lewis noted the women had gotten into a small catfight, but they claimed they were fine. Their remaining show was cancelled. Cancelled with no explanation. The last show was cancelled and there was no explanation for this. So after seeing the exchange between Margaret Josephs and Dorinda Medley, what was the fan reaction? I've never liked Dorinda more. She will not back down, unlike the Marge's cast members who never called her on her BS. Margaret met her match. Here goes RGUMENTHIVEDORINDA again. Can't stand here. Seems fans were torn between the two ladies. Some really liked seeing Dorinda take on Margaret, while others felt she was insufferable. In the end, it is sad that the last show had to be cancelled and they could not just move ahead. The sun was setting over the Hudson River, casting a golden glow across the rooftop of a luxurious Manhattan penthouse. The event was meant to be a glamorous reunion of the Real Housewives franchises, a charity gala organized by Bravo to celebrate their most iconic stars. The evening promised good food, sparkling champagne, and just enough drama to keep viewers at the edge of their seats. What no one could have predicted, however, was that the highlight of the night would be an explosive altercation between the Real Housewives of New Jersey's Margaret Josephs and the Real Housewives of New York City's Dorinda Medley. The rooftop was a sight to behold, crystal chandeliers hanging from tents, tables adorned with white roses, and Bravo's glitterati mingling in their finest designer gowns. Margaret, known for her sharp tongue and high blonde ponytail, arrived in a stunning emerald green dress that hugged her figure. She exuded confidence as she entered the party, waving to fans and greeting her fellow housewives with air kisses. Dorinda, ever the queen of making it nice, had opted for a regal navy gown, her signature blonde bob perfectly coiffed. She was sipping a martini, a playful glint in her eye as she recounted tales of the Berkshires to anyone willing to listen. The tension between the two women began subtly, as it always does in the Housewives universe. Margaret had been overheard discussing Dorinda's return to Bravo after her hiatus from RHONY. She's acting like she's still the queen bee, Margaret remarked to Teresa Giudice, her Jersey ally for the evening. But let's be honest, her last season was a disaster. She doesn't make it nice, she makes it messy. Unbeknownst to Margaret, Dorinda had sharp ears and an even sharper temper. She heard the comment as she approached the bar and froze mid-step. Her martini glass tilted dangerously, but not a drop spilled. She turned slowly, her face a mix of disbelief and simmering rage. "Excuse me?" Dorinda's voice cut through the chatter like a knife. Margaret turned, unfazed. "Oh, Dorinda, didn't see you there. How's it going?" Dorinda's eyes narrowed. Don't play coy with me, Margaret. I heard what you said. Messy, was it? Funny, coming from someone who makes a career out of dragging her friends through the mud. A crowd began to gather, sensing the brewing storm. Housewives from various franchises, Kyle Richards, Kenya Moore, and Heather Gay among them, watched with a mix of horror and fascination. Andy Cohen, who was hosting the event, appeared in the background, clearly torn between diffusing the situation and letting the cameras roll. Margaret placed her glass of Prosecco on a nearby table and crossed her arms. "Oh please, Dorinda. If you can't handle a little constructive criticism, maybe you shouldn't have come back. You left the show because you couldn't take the heat. And now you want to waltz in like nothing happened?" Dorinda's face turned crimson. "I left because I was too real for the network, Margaret. Too real. Unlike you, who spends all her time stirring the pot and pretending it's for the good of the group. Let's talk about loyalty, shall we? Or is that a foreign concept to someone who throws friends under the bus for screen time?" The crowd gasped. Teresa whispered to Kyle, "I think she's talking about the Jennifer Aydin thing." Kyle nodded, already planning how to bring it up in her next confessional. Margaret stepped forward, her voice low but cutting. "Dorinda, darling, I don't throw people under the bus. I hold them accountable. Something you might want to try instead of playing the perpetual victim. And let's not forget your legendary meltdowns. How many times did you tell someone to clip last season? Maybe you should take your own advice." Dorinda's jaw dropped, and for a moment it seemed like she might actually heed Margaret's suggestion, but then she placed her martini glass on a tray and squared her shoulders. "You want to talk about accountability? Fine. Let's talk about how you betrayed your closest friend, Siggy, on national television, or how you belittle Teresa every chance you get, all while pretending to have her back. You're a hypocrite, Margaret. And worse, you're a coward." The rooftop fell silent. Even the staff stopped serving hors d'oeuvres, their trays suspended mid-air. Margaret took a deep breath, her eyes flashing with fury. "You don't know a thing about me, Dorinda. You want to talk about loyalty? You're the one who turned on every single one of your friends the moment they didn't bow to your whims. Ramona, Tinsley, Bethany, should I go on? You're not the Queen of New York, you're the Queen of burning bridges." At that, Dorinda lunged forward, her finger pointed inches from Margaret's face. "You're out of line, Margaret. Don't you dare talk about Bethany or Tinsley. At least I'm honest about who I am. You're a wannabe. A wannabe queen in a kingdom you'll never rule." Before Margaret could respond, Andy Cohen stepped in, his face a mixture of exasperation and delight. Ladies, this is a charity event, not a reunion special. Can we save this for the cameras?" Dorinda whipped around to face Andy. "Oh, it's on camera, Andy, and don't you dare edit this out. The viewers deserve to see the real Margaret Josephs, fake, conniving, and desperate." Margaret smirked, flipping her ponytail. "Desperate. Coming from someone who practically begged to be back on TV? That's rich." The crowd buzzed with murmurs as the women glared at each other, their feud cementing itself as the talk of the evening. By the time the party wound down, alliances had been drawn, with half the room siding with Dorinda and the other half backing Margaret. The following morning, social media was ablaze. Clips of the fight went viral, with hashtags like #DorindaAsMargaret and #HousewivesShowdown trending worldwide. Fans debated fiercely, some praising Margaret for standing her ground, others applauding Dorinda for keeping it real. Bravo, of course, wasted no time capitalizing on the drama. Andy announced a special episode of Watch What Happens Live featuring both women, promising an unfiltered conversation about the blowout. Rumors swirled about a potential crossover series starring Dorinda and Margaret, a road trip concept where the two would be forced to confront their differences while traveling across the country. As for Margaret and Dorinda, neither seemed willing to back down. In separate interviews, both women declared themselves the victor of the confrontation, each claiming they had made their point and put the other in her place. It was a quintessential Housewives moment, a clash of egos, a battle of wits, and a reminder that when it comes to drama, these women are in a league of their own. For fans, it was nothing short of iconic. For Margaret and Dorinda, it was just another day in the Bravo universe.